Hey y'all, it's me again, and, well, we did it. We're just about through with this hell year.
Working on a weekend like usual.
I wouldn't be the first one to pay mention to just how tough of a year this has been from way too many different angles to count. I don't even have to mention specificities at this point, and it might actually be preferable if I didn't. We all lived through it together. We know the deal.
Oh, I feel so sorry.
For me personally, this year gave me some opportunities to become more invested in that which I love the most, music. I checked off a lot of my personal album blind spots, as well as did some pretty cool things on this very YouTube channel. Now, I didn't accomplish exactly what I wanted to do here, but trust me, I'm on that. There's always 2021 after all. But first, 2020. Now, this year was pretty strange in a number of different ways. But it also cannot be overstated just how odd the charts were this year as well. Y'all probably already know about the wave of #1 debuts in 2020, but what I found particularly interesting was the incredible amount of songs that cracked the top 40 as a whole. Starting from the first week of the calendar year, and not counting Christmas songs or songs that spent more time in the top 40 in 2019 than 2020, we got a total of 258 songs that appeared in the top 40 throughout the year. To put it in perspective, we had 167 top 40 hits in 2019, 203 in 2018, and 136 in 2017. I'm sure there are a lot of factors that go into the influx in this year, but considering the unusually high amount of album cuts that arrived here, I'm sure the simplest answer is that those that followed social distancing protocol just had more time to listen to the latest albums than ever before. On the downside, we also have a lot more people listening to a lot more bad music. A lot more. Hence where this list comes in. To be perfectly honest though, this was a pretty good year overall, and I struggled to single out 10 songs that I found deplorable enough to talk about. Some of these songs I don't even really dislike all that much. Honestly, I'm significantly more excited to get around to the best list for this year. So, let's just get through this list so we could have some fun with that list. As with any of my top or bottom 10 lists, any songs that have broken to the top 40 qualify for this list, though I will emphasize those that spent at least a couple weeks in the top 20. And just to clear the air a bit, songs that were released prior to, let's say 2018, will not qualify for inclusion on either of these lists. I mean, it's in the title, 2020. Imagine how anticlimactic it would be if my best lists were topped by the double hitter of All I Want for Christmas Is You and Dreams. I mean, that would be hilarious, but anyway, no. Alright, on with the show.
It ain't always about what you like, sometimes it's about what's right.
Baby.
I'd rather be a B-I-T-C-H, cause that's what you gon' call me when I'm tripping anyway.
You know what? I'm gonna go easy on this guy this year.
So, before you go.
Yeah, I know. I trashed this one in that one episode of my seasonal show. But I also completely trashed Someone You Love back in the 2019 worst list, and I don't know. In retrospect, I may have been a bit too harsh on that one, so I'm not going to make the same mistake this year, especially since it seems that this one comes from decent intentions.
When you hurt under the...
Now, to be clear, everything I had said about this song in my spring episode of the last 3 months still totally stands. I do not enjoy this song from any degree, and the bulk of this is because of Lewis Capaldi's voice, which is like nails on chalkboard to me. With all that said, I've mainly been under the impression that this is due to Capaldi's raw attempt at genuine emotional expression that just so happened to be performed rather clumsily due to said rawness. Now, I don't want to give off the impression that I think Lewis Capaldi is bad and will always be bad. I fear that the tone of my Someone You Love segment might have given some a reason to believe this. I honestly would love to see how Capaldi develops as an artist with an entirely different production team and maybe some vocal training. But as far as my own personal tastes are concerned, this is not good. I can understand how someone would find resonance in this one, but it's not working for me. I mean, personally, the most well-written song in the world will fall flat if the music leaves little to the imagination. And it kind of feels like that's what's happening right here. I will commend its subject matter though, with Capaldi having written this about a suicide of a family member. But I also did initially state that I wasn't too fond about the framing of the subject at hand, and this point still stands. Generally speaking, it feels like the speaker of the song is making the pain and suffering of the other person all about himself, which is something you really shouldn't do when trying to comfort a suicidal person.
Was there something I could
On the flip side, I guess I can see a purpose for a song like this. After all, when we're witnessing the pain of someone we love, the only emotions that we can truly discern are our own. So in that sense, I could understand this being a raw, unfiltered look at how the speaker is trying and maybe failing to navigate his tattered emotions in the wake of his loss. It's messy, but mourning often is. But personally, it all comes back to the sound of the song. I'm already pretty uneasy about the song's subject matter and perspective, but the basic adult contemporary production doesn't do anything to have me convinced it's anything I should pay much attention to. I'm not nearly on the same level of solid dislike for the song as I was last spring, but boy do I feel no reason to go back to it after I finish this video. Capaldi, you're still young. I have high hopes for you, and I just know you're gonna do great things in the future. This isn't one of them, but that's okay.
So, before you go,
You know you can't control me, baby. You need a real one in your life. The bitches ain't gon' give it to you, right? I'd rather be your bitch.
Are we seriously still doing this?
so what a man gotta do, what a man gotta do, to be totally locked up by you.
Yeah, this one. Remember this one? If you don't, I don't blame you. On the contrary, you're on the right side of history. So as you all know, 2019 was the year of the Jonas Brothers comeback.
I'm a sucker for all this.
Basically, Sucker is just fine, Cool is atrocious, and Only Human just plain didn't need to exist. The latter would have probably taken the spot if it had been any more of a 2020 hit, but whatever. I would have thought this was enough of the Jonas Brothers that we as a music listening community needed for the rest of our lives. But nope, apparently we needed this one too. Oh, and this one as well, I guess. I mean, it took us till halfway through the year before we fully washed the Joe Bros out of our hair. But my question is, why? I mean, what do the goddamn Jonas Brothers bring to the table that we aren't getting from any of the other hip pretty boy musicians? I mean, now that pop punk is coming back, we should consider their kind totally obsolete. Until the next revival, at least. But anyway, this song. This song dropped out of the charts, and likewise general public consciousness, months ago. Why even bother to put it on a list like this? I mean, it's bad. Real bad. It's really clear that after the success of Sucker, the production team behind the Jonases have been scrambling to find something else radio can latch onto. This isn't nearly as embarrassing as Cool, nor as creepy as Only Human, but jeez is it annoying. And I can't exactly pinpoint what's so awful about it either, which is probably why I've placed it so low here. Honestly, it may just be that unholy combination of overconfidence and generic, boring production that always seems to be the downfall of songs like these. Once again, I place the bulk of the blame for this song's pitiful sound to Ryan Tedder, the anti-Midas touch guy. Apparently the song is Bollywood inspired, but like, that's not what Bollywood sounds like. This is what Bollywood sounds like. Get it together. But Tedder isn't completely to blame here. I mean, geez, have you listened to Nick Jonas?
You ain't tryna be wasting time.
It's a shame that Nick has settled as a de facto leader of the Jonas Brothers because most of the time he's far too limp to carry his verses all by himself. I mean, without looking up any of the lyrics, can you even figure out what he's saying right here?
So I give $1 million just for you to grab me by the collar and knock on these doors. These doors.
Like, are those even words? I don't think those are words.
What am I gonna do?
Joe Jonas's chorus has a little more meat on its bones, but there's just nothing here that would compel me to press play on this by my own free will. And that Bo Diddley riff at the bridge? Too little too late. Anyway, this may be the sheerest example of a song this year that makes such little effort at achieving fundamental mediocrity that it ends up coming all the way back around to being bad. Bad, bad, bad. Also, totally unrelated, but geez, I get it. Y'all have hot wives. Get over yourselves.
Why you wanna play with me? You know I'm undefeated. A real high girl know how to keep a nigga heated. You say you want respect, well treat me how you wanna be treated.
Yeah, you got that yummy, yum, that yummy, yum, that yummy, yummy. Yeah, you got that.
This is bad. Terrible, no good, very bad. I swear from the very first listen, my brain just tended to go completely numb over this one. I mean, it sounds bad. You can hear it, right? That instrumental is just this dull glaze of contemporary R&B that does little to entice me in any direction, positive or negative. That hook is also quite cringe and repetitive too. But like you can tell just by listening to this video. I mean, he's repeated yummy like, what, 50 times since I started this segment? Yeah, the food sex metaphor is bad also. I mean, Jesus Christ, what do you want me to say about this song? There's nothing I can say that would add to any conversation. There's no conversation. This is a failure. I had nothing substantial to say about Yummy back upon release, and, well, I still don't. But I do know I dislike it. A lot. And sometimes that's all that's needed.
You want me to blow your phone up and come and looking for you till I find you. You really want me to whoop the hoe that you fucking with if I find her. Bitch, you ain't that busy, I don't give a fuck what you ain't got time for.
Oh, I'm about to do a bad thing. Bad thing.
Wait, hey, woo!
Some generally considered bad taste, to speak ill of the dead. You know what? Screw it. This song sucks.
Shorty a little baddie, shorty my little boo thing, and shorty got the fatty.
So I want to make one thing clear before I continue. Earlier this year, I took a listen to Shoot for the Moon, Aim for the Stars, the posthumous debut LP of Pop Smoke. Generally speaking, my thoughts on this are pretty positive. It's clear that Smoke had an incredible, unique voice on him. No one else sounds like him, and I'm sure we're to get imitators in the next couple years or so. However, well, I guess the one major complaint I have about Pop Smoke is similar to the gripe I have about 50 Cent. You see, Pop Smoke is good when he's doing songs like this.
It's Pop Smoke, niggas know me, keep 2 4s like I'm Kobe. As you riding or you hiding, if you sliding and you owe me.
And not so much stuff like this.
Valentino, yeah, I'll put you in the base. So lifting up your dress, so kissing on your neck, start rubbing on your butt.
Okay, so here's the thing. I don't mind sex. Sex is fine. In fact, not to be presumptuous, but I guess you can say that I am indeed a fan. And sexual themes and imagery in music? Well, there's a time and place for sure, but in general, I'm pretty open to all that. But, I mean, there's singing and or rapping about fucking and enjoying it, and then there's this.
Start rubbing on your butt, start massaging your breast. I ain't wanna give you a baby just yet, so I backed out and had it on your breast.
Like, geez, keep that shit to yourself, man. Lil TJ's verse is a little more fitting, but yeah, let's just say it follows a theme as well. You know, poetry. And the disappointing part is, I can see the song really working if it went in a different direction. The instrumental is really solid, and there are even a couple lines here and there that I feel are pretty good and even quite adorable.
If there's something on your mind, you could tell me. And if I told you it's so mine, would you help me?
I mean, I know it might be too much to ask for some romantic substance in a raunchy sex song, but when done correctly, it could truly work. Like Smoke's chorus as well.
Shorty a little baddie, shorty my little boo thing, and shorty got the fatty.
See, that's cute. I can picture him cooing these exact lines to his beloved as she blushes and smiles and looks away. It's too bad then that they're followed up by these lines.
Every time I fuck without a rubber, I nutted on the covers.
Jesus, man. TM fucking I. It doesn't even touch the depth scale of WAP, which layers its sexuality in wordplay and a fun rhythm. This is literally just here I am doing the sex thing. It's also clinical, not a turn on whatsoever. My favorite part about this whole thing is at the end, where the two go back and forth, presenting the chorus a final time with a much more minimal instrumental.
I nutted on her covers,
And I kept it undercover.
I can't figure out which is more bonkers, the absolutely ridiculous lyrics or the idea that the producers felt it profound enough to end the track with. Either way, it's a fitting end to a truly embarrassing song. Honestly, Pop Smoke's career deserved better than this dreck. In conclusion, safe sex is great sex. Better wear a latex, 'cause you don't want that latex that I think I'm late text.
You know that you gon' hate me if I get the plan, get back. I ain't turning to no damage when you met me, boy, I been there. You tryna make me something that I ain't with that.
My last made me feel like I would never try again, but when I saw you,
Oh geez, another one of these. And by another one, I mean that brand of contemporary R&B that just swims past my eardrums with no rhyme or reason. I mean, what even is there to say about this one? Just listen to it.
Talk to me, I need to hear you need me like I need you.
This was considered one of the biggest songs in the country for several months, and at least a third of that time was at the start of the year, before people even had an excuse to wallow in miserable, droning music. I mean, is that it? Were people just so listless and dead inside this year that they turned to fucking Trevor Daniel of all people as a source of comfort? Like, honestly, I feel so depressed just letting this one play. Literally nothing else of substance can be offered. Let's move on.
Rather be a B-I-T-C-H, cause that's what you gon' call me when I'm trippin' anyway. You know you can't control me, baby. You need a real one in your life.
How does he sleep at night? Mama, the nerve of this guy.
I mentioned this in a prior video, but one of the coolest things to occur in the charts in the second half of 2020 was a sudden surge in popularity of female country singers. This should have been something insignificant, but considering that we've been neck deep in the plague of subpar to just plain awful bro country these past few years, boy has it been a breath of fresh air. Basically what I'm saying is, I hope we can finally rid ourselves from dreck like this.
You one of them girls that ain't trying to meet nobody. You're just here for the party.
So here's where I would normally give my opinion on the artist at hand, based on what I know about their recording history. But what even is there to say about Lee Brice? I guess Rumor and I Hope You're Happy Now with Carly Pearce are both pretty alright, but far from exceptional. Believe me, most of the stuff I've heard from him is closer to this. And if I'm wrong, then stop me.
You one of them girls that ain't.
In case you've been lucky enough to avoid exposure to this particular song, let me paint the picture for you. Basically, you're playing a woman at the bar, minding her own business, and Lee Brice is playing the nosy barfly who thinks you're hot and makes a whole lot of assumptions about you in order to come off as charming and eventually nab his way into your heart. That's basically it.
You got your heart on lockdown. Got a wall I gotta knock down.
Brice, like most other country boys, is particularly attracted to a certain kind of girl. A country girl. The kind of girl who drinks beer on the champagne night and all that. And I know singing about these types of red letter dames is pretty typical fare for bro country. Asking them to change is like asking them to stop singing about trucks and back roads and shit. But the crucial element here is that Lee Brice isn't singing to his girl. He's singing to a stranger he wants to make his girl. And I don't know, maybe I'm biased because I'm a woman and I've never been particularly fond of the kinds of guys who approach me all unsolicited like, but I don't think it's that crazy to point out that Brice may be getting a little too pushy here.
You one of them girls that ain't handing out your number. You like to make us want you. You like to make us wonder.
No dude, it's because you're being weird and she's not into you. It's not rocket science. Also, I have such an inexplicable hatred for this particular line.
One of them girls who likes to act all quiet, sexy, not even trying.
Dude, chick's literally just sitting there drinking her beer. If you think she's being sexy just sitting there, maybe you need to think about not having such low standards for attraction. As someone who never quite knows how to take the slightest compliment to my physical appearance, my skin is crawling on her behalf. This song is here on this list because it treats the pursuit of this woman and others like her as a conquest. There are ways to navigate this topic, I'm sure, but this sure isn't one of them. I guess I could only expect this to come from the guy who gave us That Don't Sound Like You, another song that takes the treat you better approach to feeling empathy for a girl in an abusive situation whom you really want to bang. And also girls in bikinis.
Watching girls in bikinis is like watching a slinky walking down the stairs.
Not for me. Next.
You need a real one in your life. Them bitches ain't gon' give it to you, right? I got my mind on getting paid. We ain't spoken some days. He probably thinking I'm in pain.
So there's this movie I really love called Seeking a Friend for the End of the World. It takes place in this world where a disastrous meteor is set to crash down and eliminate all life on Earth, and features two strangers who, as the title implies, are helping each other find their special someone to share their final days with. And you can kind of guess where it goes from there. Now, I'm about to spoil the movie right now, but you should still watch it anyway. It's really good. In the final scene of the film, both of our protagonists have realized that the person they've been looking for these past few chaotic days have been right in front of them this entire time. They spent their final moments lying in bed, gazing into each other's eyes, and literally feeling the tremors of the meteor as it makes impact with Earth. Penny is afraid at the inevitability of death very soon to come, but Dodge comforts her by keeping her grounded, asking her questions about the things that really matter.
Where'd you grow up? I was born in Surrey.
She laments over the two not having met each other sooner, while he replies that, on the contrary, they had met each other at exactly the right time, when they need each other most. It's a bittersweet ending that tackles one of the truest of life's goals. Treasuring those who mean so much to you, they would become the so-called friends you would take with you to the end of the world. Now imagine how annoying it would be if they wouldn't stop talking about all the petty, insignificant ways that the relationship between you two had soured. Real fucking annoying, right? Right?
But if the world was ending, you'd come over, right? You'd come over and you'd stay the night. Would you love me for the hell of it?
This song is very recently despised for me. I mean, it's been floating around the charts for a while now, but for the most part had just been background noise. While we're listening to it for this list though, it finally hit me. This song is awful. And I have a hard time believing that so many people are listening to this for reasons other than the title is fitting with, the state of things.
I didn't feel it when the earthquake happened, but it really...
I have no idea who JP Saxe is, but I gotta be real. I initially assumed it was the alternate stage name for Nash. Oh, you remember Nash, right? This guy?
Everyone I do right does me wrong, so every lonely night I sing this song.
But no, this isn't Nash. Although, could you blame me?
I know, we know you weren't.
This delivery is so dull and lifeless, I could just yawn. Additionally, well, for the most part, I'm a Julia Michaels apologist. Issues wasn't that bad, and for the most part, her other solo output has been decent. But the trick is that the production needs to accentuate the distinctly husky qualities of her voice, or else it doesn't completely work. The sparse instrumentation of this one leaves a whole lot of empty space, which feels far less emotionally compelling than it thinks it is. It's just a bore.
But if the world was ending, you come over, right?
Also, the framing of this song's lyrics is extremely important. The scenario isn't that the world is ending. It's all hypothetical. Each member of the party is essentially testing the other's trust in them, even though they know damn well they are good and broken up and shouldn't even be talking to each other. If the world was ending, you'd let go of all the shit that went down in our past, no matter how toxic our relationship was, and abandon any of your other family or close friends in order to spend one more selfish, loveless night together.
If the world was ending, you'd come over, right?
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 Right? It's legitimately manipulative and, truthfully, pretty disgusting. Another shining example of a couple who should never, ever stay together. Not even when the world is about to be hit by a fucking meteor. Throw it in the garbage, honestly.
If the world was ending, you come over, right?
I be quiet, but you out here telling stories one-sided. I ain't perfect, and I try to fix the shit that ain't working, but it's 2020. I ain't finna argue about twerking.
Oh, wait, shit.
So, I was listening over all the top 40 hits that were potential entries for this list. One of them was Roxanne, a song that has shrunk on me massively over time. I was thinking really hard over whether or not it should be placed here. These lyrics are annoying, but the shimmering instrumental is really nice. But Arizona Zervis's monotone of a voice is insufferable. But I also enjoy the call and response in the chorus.
Roxanne, Roxanne, Roxanne.
And as soon as I finished listening to the song, deeply pondering over this huge decision, this song played right afterwards. It was then that I thought to myself, you know what? I'm okay with this song taking its place instead.
Fuck you and you and you. I hate your friends and they hate me too.
It kind of pains me to see that there has been some reappraisal of the song lately. As in that this bad song is actually good discourse that always seems to swim around online circles around this time. I don't buy it. This song is just as bad to me as it was from listen number 1.
Fuck you and you.
I've heard people call this hook catchy or uplifting, but to me it sounds really dull and sludgy. It honestly feels like Blackberry is just emitting whatever edgy Gen Z thing comes to mind first.
This that throw up in your Birkin bag, hook up with someone random. This that social awkward suicide.
Luxury brand name drop? Check. Mindless promiscuity? Check. A fucking suicide reference? Check, I guess.
This the college dropout music every day like this.
Oh yeah, and don't forget about the college dropouts. America, am I right? But to be honest, I've listened to this song a bunch of times, and I hardly ever listen to the lyrics. I'm sure they're probably cringy and kinda sexist, but I never feel a need to waste my time on them. Blackbear's mere performance, though, is all I need to know that I hate this one. This guy exemplifies exactly the kind of dude I literally cannot stand. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna say it. This song conjures up memories of all the boys that used to bully me in high school. The ones with the lip piercings, backwards cap, and too school for cool attitude who'd spit in the hallway floors and turn around in their chair to try to lecture me on pheromones and the Illuminati in the middle of a lecture. And notice I said high school. Blackbear here sounds like a high schooler, or rather one of those types whose personality never evolved past the flippancy of a typical naughty teen. Now that's not to say that songs can't be led by unlikable people, obviously that's not true. But I just feel no need to connect to the utter inanity on display here. Maybe 16 to 25-year-old boys and men can find some kind of enjoyment in this, and as long as no one is getting hurt, that's perfectly fine. But I don't know. I just can't find any reason to empathize or feel anything resembling joy with this one. It just sucks all the life out of me. Given that Blackbear is still getting some prominent work, I don't think we'll see the last of him anytime soon. So, I don't know. I guess I'll see you in 2021, Matt. Also, that title? Yeah, I take personal offense. End this.
This that hot girl bummer anthem, turn it up and throw attention.
If you think your shit get better with another bitch, go get her. When you realize she ain't got you like I got you, I'd rather be a bitch.
Y'all were right. This really is that bad. Alright, so I've already previously talked about this elsewhere, though not for very long. Allow me to expand and, in the process, correct myself here or there. First of all, I initially shared the opinion that I didn't think this was that bad as far as the song is concerned, when taken away from its context. And this may have to do with the fact that I'm a real sucker for doo-wop beats, as limp as this particular doo-wop rhythm is, but my point still stands overall. Aesthetically, it's okay, and yeah, even kinda sweet.
I'm stuck with you, stuck with you, stuck with you.
But here's the thing. Whether we like it or not, this song absolutely does not exist in a vacuum. I've been actively avoiding to pay mention to that which has been on the forefront of everyone's mind this year, but this may be the one hit song from 2020 where this is totally integral to its mere existence. As y'all probably know by now, this is a charity song, with proceeds for purchase of the single supposedly donating to a scholarship foundation for children of frontline workers. Instead of frontline workers themselves for some reason, but whatever. I already mentioned this prior, but charity singles from rich people just make me roll my eyes so hard. I mean, I hope it's not that unreasonable to hold the opinion that asking normal working class people to give their money away, in the middle of a pandemic no less, when you, Mr. CEO, could give up half your salary and live just as comfortably as you currently do, is kinda scummy. I just can't deal with this kind of manipulation. It's a no-go. I guess that would be reasonable enough for me to place the song on the list for that principle alone, but unfortunately, there's more.
Nowhere we need to be. No, no, no.
I mean, I'm gonna guess that many of you watching this video have been personally affected by COVID-19 to some degree. Maybe you contracted the virus, or a loved one had, or you had to alter your work or social life to some degree, whatever. And I'm not saying that we don't need a little positivity in these dark times, but does it really sound like Ariana and Justin are all that bothered here?
I'ma get to know you better. Kinda hope we're here forever.
The framing of the song treats this worldwide phenomenon as something that really isn't quite so bad because, well, at least we have each other. Once again, there's nothing wrong with finding a silver lining, but this feels more like ignorant flippancy about the trauma many others are continually facing right now.
If you told me that the world's ending, ain't no other way that I can spend it.
These two, and the others involved with the production of the record, will never have to deal with losing their jobs or being generally financially unstable because of the virus. And it really fucking shows. I can't imagine how anyone would find enjoyment in this mess. On top of all this, well... The WHO declared a worldwide pandemic in March, and this song was released in May, right in the crux of the illnesses, death, uncertainty, and generalized anxiety everyone was facing and continues to face to this very day. This entire production team put this song together and pushed it out at such a rapid pace, it's clear that they wanted to leech off the news of the day, just in case we got it under control a little too quickly. And now that the situation is turning out to be far grimmer than we ever imagined, the existence of the song is but a naive smudge on the fabric of pop music in 2020. And from now on until the end of time, every single moment the song pops on radio and personalized playlists, listeners will be reminded of that one terrifying point in time that changed their lives forever, and the ways in which the big bad music industry decided, as they are wont to do, to capitalize off the suffering of others in the name of good intentions TM. I'm getting a headache just thinking about this, so... let's move on to dishonorable mentions before I throw up.
Roxanne, all she wanna do is party all night.
Don't get me wrong, this is still Shrunk on Me hella. His instrumental will always remind me of Bitch I'm a Cow though, so I guess it'll get points for that. Also, have we gotten confirmation that Arizona Zervis actually exists? I don't think he actually exists.
I'd spend 10,000 hours and 10,000 more.
I'm firmly on the side of Dan and Shay are very lame, but I can't deny that they've got their appeal given the record. This one, however, I cannot forgive. I thought schlock like this was declared too boring for radio back in the mid-90s.
I wanna introduce you to my kinfolks, to my old friends, to the house and the...
Jesus, do you want to buy me a drink first? I know I said that I wasn't going to put this guy in any more of my videos, but this ain't about 6ix9ine.
Dollar bill, come get her.
2020 was a terrible year for Nicki music-wise, but this might be the most empty, soulless verse she spit all year round. Just the sheerest definition of an autopilot. It's embarrassing.
Why you gotta be so heartless? I know you think it's harmless. You're tearing me apart.
Ugh, so bad. From the song alone, I would have assumed that Morgan Wallen was one of the bad dude country singers, but he's actually put out some fairly good stuff this year. This shit's aggravating though.
Come with me, leave all of your things, yeah. You can stop it Gucci, stop it Louis.
Is Drake speaking words in this song? I mean, okay, I understand that one part he says a French thing.
Full speed, so volley Paris, yeah.
But the rest of the song might as well be plain gibberish as far as I'm concerned. Sucks.
Did it go right foot up, left foot slide, left foot up?
Nothing.
You got to keep me focused. You wanna say so. Every time I take a break, the game be so boring.
There's a lot to hate about this remix, but the worst offense to me is that they took out easily the most beautiful part of the original.
It's been a long time since you feeling love.
And replaced it with a completely out of place Miami-based verse from Nicki Minaj. Once again, what the fuck happened in 2020, Nicki?
Used to be
I love my country. I love my country.
Must be nice.
This is the rhythm of the night. Baby, tonight's like fuego.
I wanted to dislike this more, but honestly, most of the song is plainly passable and harmless. Rhythm of the Night doesn't deserve this desecration though, so dishonorable mentions it is.
Here's to the ones that we got. Cheers to the wish you were here, but you're not.
I really dislike Maroon 5, and I think this is a bad song and everything, but, you know, it's kind of sweet, ain't it? C for effort, Levine & Co.
Picture perfect, you don't need no filter. Or just make them drop dead,
This song is bad, but is saved by an instrumental that I honestly think is quite lovely. It doesn't save it completely though, due to...
heart full of equity or an asset.
that. Also, is Quavo even on the song? I don't think he is. Kinda weird that he's credited though.
And the way you hold me, hold me, hold me, hold me, hold me.
Okay, seriously, what the hell was Justin Bieber even smoking this year, and where can I find some? Jesus Christ.
The way you Hold me, hold me, hold me, hold me, feel so holy.
I'd rather be your bitch.
As I was looking over the choices for this list, figuring out placements, and trying to decide which of these songs would take the illustrious top spot, one question kept popping into my mind. Which of these songs actively made my year worse? I mean, for worse lists in typical years, I often tend to play songs that are aesthetically or thematically unpleasant at the top spot. Ones that I see as a cacophonous mess of words and sounds that bring my mood to places I prefer not to visit. 2020 isn't a typical year though. This year, more than any other prior year, I found myself fervently grasping at any bit of serotonin I could get in order to prevent me from diving headfirst in a dense, sloppy void of despair, depression, and utter hopelessness. Luckily for me, there was a lot to love in the music world that helped put me back on my own 2 feet and give me the trust that everything will turn out okay in the end. And then, there were songs that took me all the way back to ground zero. And by songs, I mean song. And by song, I mean this song.
Don't stay awake for too long. Don't go to bed. I'll make a cup of coffee for your head.
I tried, y'all. I know I was particularly harsh on this song when I covered it in the last 3 months, all those months ago, but I swear that I assumed that others had the same feelings I had on it. When I realized that people were actually kind of fond of it, I swear I did try to see it that way. I tried to turn off the cynical part of my brain and just give it a fair and good chance. It's too much, man. And at this point, maybe I don't have to explicitly spell out why it's too much. Maybe just reading the title will give you an idea why this song, being among the biggest 100 of the year in this 2020, is a tad difficult to digest. Putting it lightly, this year was tough for me. I've dealt with anxiety and depression for what seems like my entire life, but 2020 really forced me to become more aware of these abject feelings, maybe more than ever before. I'm also a bit of a hypochondriac, and let me tell you, my health anxiety has never been quite as profound. For what felt like every waking moment of every day, I really got a sense that death was right around the corner, whether it be mine or that of a loved one, or even a coworker, acquaintance, or anyone else really. And I know that this was the experience for many others this year as well. Even if not attributed specifically to COVID-19, this really was the kind of year where death seemed to be in the air at every waking moment. Living in the meat of it was tremendously scary, and knowing that we're not nearly out of the woods yet is, well, rather distressing. And songs like these certainly don't help.
My life was kinda short, but I got so many blessings.
Okay, let's dial it back a bit. Palfu is not a good rapper. This is a lovely sample and all, but he really does fuck all with it to make it sound even a little bit compelling. Like those other depressive, droning songs on this list, this just doesn't sound pleasant at all. I guess there's an appeal to these kinds of lo-fi rappers that I just haven't fully tapped into. So yeah, that one's on me, I guess.
Cuddle in your sheets, sang me sound asleep.
If nothing else, I hope that this song has introduced folks to some more of Biba Doobie's music. But anyway, yeah. The mere fact that this song's rise coincided with this pandemic is already baffling enough, but whatever, it is what it is. I just really hated how, in this year, a year where I needed comfort and good vibes the most, and most often found such comfort in the predictable sugary goodness of pop music, this song was thrown into the mix to remind me of how shitty things are. A story like this isn't inherently barred from usage in song, but with this particular story, at this particular time, it just feels oddly detached from the grim reality of everything. Maybe it's just the frame of mind I've been trapped in all year long. Maybe in a few years' time or so, I will come around to this and actually appreciate the concept for what it is, separate from the ugly context in which it rose to recognition. Maybe I'll come around to it and finally say that I truly enjoy it for what it is. But no, not right now. Get this shit away from me. For me, this one gives me absolutely nothing but bad feelings. And for that, it deserves the title of Worst Hit Single of 2020.
They'll get you